Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. It is not a very agreeable weather day here in the Bay Area, but then again, our summer starts in October. I was doing my research. So today we are recording on June 23rd, which is an interesting day in tech history. It is a day that marks the founding of Reddit in 2005, the
Nice.
AKA the front page of the internet. It's also the birthday of Alan Turing in 1812, who was the father of modern computer science, and one of the pioneers of AI. But also, on a personal note, during World War II, his code-breaking genius was actually super instrumental in intercepting Nazi communications. So, shout out to Alan. Also, this is amazing. June 23rd represents a grassroots observance called Let It Go Day to encourage people to release emotional baggage. Let it fucking go, people.
Wow. Let it go. Yeah,
Let
that's
let
good.
it go.
I need that reminder at all times. Yeah. If you want to go ahead, we can take a break so you can sing Frozen.
But last but not least is Prime Day.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
what deals are you looking at?
None, because they're not deals. They literally just
It's like five
they
dollars
say that
off.
the original price was, $80 and then they slashed it to 70 or $60 when really the price was always $60 like originally, and it just makes it look like a sale. It's all a scam.
Whatever, dude. I'm finally buying AirTags for my children because they're basically happy puppies who, like, on Halloween just run around in the dark. So
Um, I will say AirTags are worth it. We have them in all of our suitcases and they've totally come in handy. And honestly, yeah, you should buy them now. Because even without the sale, like they're worth it. So if they're on
yeah,
sale, it's great.
suitcases, totally, totally. Why we're gonna buy? No, we
Oh
will.
yeah, you're putting them on your children.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
I actually
it's
have seen people that or I don't know if the shoes have a spot for them now, but there's like kids' shoes and people are
mm,
cutting a place for you to put them in their shoe, which is really smart.
DIY. I like that.
It's a
I
little
like that.
DIY kid
Yeah,
tracking device.
it's an invisible leash that goes much
You know what's
further.
funny? Speaking of leashes, that's exactly where I was going. I don't have kids yet, so obviously I'm still the like single person that has opinions of like what I'll do when I'm a parent without having like any idea of what you'll actually do when you're a parent. And I remember
Fair.
even when I was younger seeing parents with their kids on leashes at the airport or at Disney or whatever and being like that's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like my kid is never being put on a leash. And now as I'm older, I'm like I get it. People are scary. Things are scary. Like I can kind of get it.
It's
Yeah,
so
I
crazy.
understand.
I was listening to an episode of The Daily months ago. I think it was last year, and they were talking about like parents today versus parents of like the last generation, and how
Yep.
they there was a stat that uh, working parents today spend more time with their kids than parents who stayed home in like the 70s and 80s because
Wow.
basically the analogy they gave was like uh, a parent in the 80s or 90s takes their kid to go play tennis. They're like, I'm going to go play tennis with my friend and like you go over and like play with dirt. And yet today we're like, we're all going to go play tennis as a family and we're going to have quality time. And so we end up spending more
Interesting.
time because of the helicopter nature, which is largely based on like, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? And all this like
Yeah.
emotional baggage, all these things. But yeah, very, very fascinating.
Okay, well,
Definitely
that
buying
kind of brings me
AirTags
to
for my
like
kids.
something that's in my feed actually.
Okay. Yes.
So, two things that were interesting. One, I was a big fan of To Catch a Predator growing up. So the like where are your kids at 10 p.m. Same thing. Chris Hansen is still around and he is still doing his thing. He's like kind of brought it back now, and I just saw it pop up on my feed, and I was like, hell yeah, we need that more than ever right now. I'm like, please go get all of these disgusting pedo psychopaths. So
Nostalgia's
I was
so
just
hot these days, you know?
right.
Yeah.
Oh God. So I was just really excited to see that he was still around doing his thing. And then I actually saw something else that I want to
Okay.
read you that I thought was really cool.
Okay.
Um, when I woke up this morning, I saw a little news piece about how scientists have found good results in a clinical trial using a standard vitamin B3 strategy that can help people with glioblastomas, which is obviously an aggressive brain cancer. So
Yeah.
they found that niacin may actually help revive immune cells that tumors shut down, allowing them to attack the cancer more effectively. And early results have been very promising, and patients are showing significantly better, progression-free survival than expected, which is just really cool. Every time I see some type of advancement
Yeah.
in cancer research, no matter what the cancer is, it makes me so happy. I have family members dealing with cancer right now, multiple, unfortunately. And so it's just, really cool to see when there's some type of
Yeah.
hopeful breakthrough.
Oh, science, it works.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's I think like most normal people, I'm very hopeful about the intersection of artificial intelligence and the science community. And they've been working on like CRISPR research and all kinds of stuff for a long time. So yeah, when I hear something like that, that's amazing. And then to the extent that it can supercharge it and help us all live till a billion years, not completely uncomfortably, spend more time with our family and friends and be productive humans, is awesome. But that's so great. And like, particularly for, somebody that's like really personal for. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, it's like just so awesome that there are people around that can literally figure this stuff out. My brain is just not wired that way at all. And so whenever I see researchers or people that can truly figure that kind of stuff out, I'm always like, I'm in awe. I'm in awe.
I still don't understand how we can like throw our voice to the other side of the world and somebody's like, I got you, like in the middle of a forest in
like, how
Asia.
does the phone work?
Like,
yeah, exactly.
how does electricity, how do we harness this? Like, who are these people and why do I feel so
That's why I got a journalism degree, Matt.
So dumb all the time.
That's why I got a journalism degree, because I didn't have to take hard math or science classes. They just unfortunately were not my thing.
So for me, some marketing and sports shit as usual. So first of all, shout out to Convene. I don't know if anybody saw this, but at the Knicks parade, there was a fan who literally broke Convene's sign on their building. They literally ripped off the first N in Convene. And then Convene responded by immediately changing its logo on socials to one in which the N is hanging by a thread. So like people loved it. I thought that was such a great way to lean into something, as I say, never let a good crisis go to waste. Also, I don't know if you saw, there's an amazing video now of Will Ferrell getting Kim Kardashian to teach him how to take a selfie. It is exactly as funny as you would think it would be. It's the energy we need right now. So in addition to medical breakthroughs, you should also go watch Kim Kardashian teach Will Ferrell how to take a selfie. But then also in more good news alert, I'm super stoked about Serena getting a wild card berth to go play at Wimbledon at age 44, because that woman can literally do anything. She is awesome. A force of nature.
Is she one of the oldest, if not the oldest, to go back and play? I haven't looked that up.
Good question. For sure, one of. I'm sure there was probably somebody that's played like into their late 40s or 50 or something like that. But the question is like, how good were they, and how good can she be?
You know, it will be super interesting because it was already impressive for her to come back after having, kids. That's just like wild. Any woman that does that.
Twins, I think, right?
I don't know, actually.
I think she had twins.
I think she had one, and she came back after her first, who was not a twin. But I don't know if she had twins then after. It is an interesting conversation not to ever talk about like a woman's weight, but as a spokesperson for Roe and someone that's been on a GLP-1, and like her body has completely changed since she was, in the like peak of her career. It'll just be interesting to see like, what was that a helpful strategy? Like, does she move differently now? Like, it'll be really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I also just realized we totally talked all about their family today because it's the founding of Reddit, and we're talking about Serena. So, what
Yeah,
a power
love it.
couple!
That's very cool.
Okay, let's move on to play a song. Today's song is this. Yes. So, for anybody that doesn't know, you should, hopefully. This is Crazy Train by the late, great Ozzy Osbourne, released in 1980. It served as his comeback anthem following his firing from Black Sabbath. Musically, the song was highly unconventional for heavy metal at the time because it utilized an F-sharp minor key instead of the traditional metal keys of A and E, which I think is quite analogous for today's guests, whose brand is anything but conventional. And they actually partnered with Ozzy on several campaigns, most notably an ultra-limited run of 10 crushed iced tea cans that he drank from containing the rock legend's actual DNA called Infinitely Recyclable Ozzy that were sold for a low price of $450 each. Obviously, they sold out. Could not be more excited because obviously I'm talking about Liquid Death! Liquid Death! And we have two amazing people from Liquid Death. So let's get to it. Let's do this. We have two amazing humans. We could not be more excited. So who the F are you? Our guests today are two of the creative and marketing minds behind one of the most, I would say, like studied and obsessed over brands today. Andy Pearson, you spent a bunch of years as a copywriter and creative director at some of the best agencies in America, PB&B, Deutsch, McKinney, and now you are at Liquid Death as VP of Creative. You don't think of Liquid Death as a brand, you think of it as a character. We will get into that. And you make sure that the brand doesn't suck. And then Greg, so I'm so excited to have Greg on the show because, well, technically Greg worked for me, but he sort of hired me. And I always said to Greg that you're better than me, and it's a matter of time before you are leading one of the best brands in the world. That didn't take long. And so we worked together building MeUndies, but Greg was also doing PR for Dollar Shave Club. And he joined as VP of marketing, I think right around the pandemic time.
Yeah, December 2020.
Holy shit. And you've won all kinds of awards and been named all kinds of lists. And I think most importantly, like you're not, yeah, I'm sure people have eyes. You're not your average guys. Andy just ran, he's an ultra marathoner.
Just gonna say none of what you're about to say is average, but go ahead, continue.
No, I'm saying not your average guy. And and Greg, I have skied with Greg before, who is an amateur snowboarder. And Greg's like, I'm going to duck down into like this dangerous, steep wooded area. And I'm like, cool, I'll be on like the blue circle shit over here. And he's also an amazing surfer. So like, just it's no wonder that you guys sell sheer chaos for a living and have been doing so for many years. So I consider me your hype person. Welcome to Best Brands on Earth, Andy Pearson and Greg Fass. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you. We are hyped.
Thank you.
Officially.
Awesome.
But Andy, you do have to say what you just did. You just ran a ultra marathon. Was it around Tahoe?
Yeah, I did it was a 200-mile trail running race around Lake Tahoe. So we started in South Lake Tahoe, went all the way the fuck around the lake, and then ended right back where we started 200 miles later in about 3 days.
Where does your mind go? like as you do these things, and also, are you listening to music the whole time, or are you just like blacking out?
No.
How does this work?
You're
He
just
read
sort of.
he read a whole book in that time.
I wrote a book while I was running.
Exactly.
No, I mean, you sort of have to be both like super present and super sort of distanced from what is going on in the moment. So it's kind of like a really crazy, almost meditative state not to get like real metaphysical at the beginning here, but yeah, it's and then for the final like 8 to 9 hours I was like tripping balls because I had only slept for 2 hours in
Right.
68 hours.
I saw that.
So I was having like a full psychedelic experience without the drugs
Sick.
for like through the final night where like all the rocks looked like little faces and the woods looked like trolls and all
So
kinds
much
of stuff.
liquid death mountain water at that point,
Yeah.
Wow,
It was
that's
less
crazy.
cool and more just kind of annoying, to be honest, at that point.
But you keep doing them.
How
There's
long
something
does
keeps bringing you
how
back,
long
yeah.
does that state last after you finish?
Oh, it's
good
it's just
question.
it's more that honestly, it's more that your brain is seeing like little brief flash. Your eyes are ingesting things in the environment and trying to make sense of them. So it's not like I'm high. It's like oh, it sees a tree trunk and it's like brown thing about this tall. That must be a horse head.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So it's it's not like a state of actual like intoxication or anything like that.
And then
It goes away
do
pretty
You don't
like
have to wait
eat-
for it to wear off. You don't have
Yeah.
to wait.
No,
for
you're
it to
just
wear
Yeah, there's
off
no-
really
after.
tired
no hangovers.
afterwards.
Yeah. Do you like sleep for 24 hours and like eat an entire pizza? Like what's the
No, I
recovery
slept
process?
for a couple hours. I slept for a couple hours afterwards the next morning, and you're a little wonky for a couple days, but it's not that bad.
Crazy.
That's crazy. I was proud
Yeah.
of myself after running a half marathon. I can't imagine
That's awesome.
adding
me respect.
187 miles.
That's a half marathon's a long way too.
Yeah.
But here's
yeah.
the thing: it's not just the mileage; it's also the fact that you're going up really steep mountains the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's insane. I had the chance to train to be Andy's pacer for one of these. And just the training alone was grueling. And because I'm used to running like road races and I've done a marathon, I'm training for one right now, but it's all
Cool.
for the most part fairly flat, right? And on pavement. It's like I've gone on runs with Andy and you're scaling steep mountains with gravel and you have to worry about like, it actually reminded me a lot of snowboarding going down because you're
Yeah.
running
Yeah.
down this mountain. You have to like be spotting your landing of like, oh, if I go off this rock, make sure that it's a good landing here so that I don't roll my ankle. And yeah,
It's so
like
hard on
it's
your
like
body too.
Yeah,
It's like the
easy
world's
going.
most uncool snowboarding. Like we don't look cool doing it, and no one can watch you, and there's no coverage of it. But other than that,
it's just
like
slower than
snowboarding.
it's just slower snowboarding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I love
funny.
it.
Slow
Well,
boarding.
I think for us as we jump into Liquid Death, but just kind of like riffing off of that and some of the brands that you guys have been at. We talked about Greg being at MeUndies and Dollar Shave and Andy. I know that you spent time working on brands like Taco Bell and Volkswagen, Netflix, etc. I know a little bit of the story about like Cesario and kind of how this came to be, but like how did this group of beautiful misfits, whatever you want to call yourselves, right? Like amazing humans come together. And I know that for anybody that doesn't know, Mike Cesario, who founded Liquid Death, has an agency and creative background and certainly was the visionary behind all this. But how did you guys kind of like come to intersect and become this team many years ago?
I know Mike was looking for his first kind of like head of marketing hire for quite a while, and he had brought on a recruiting agency to help him find someone for this. I think he was really careful. He didn't want to just he didn't want to hire someone who had worked in beverage before. He wanted someone to come in with a bit more of like a
Smart.
outsider's perspective on a company like that. But then he also didn't want to go to, one of these really big established brands, love them personally, but he didn't want to go to like a Nike or like a General Mills, you know, or one of these places where you had like traditional brand marketing experience. He was looking for, you know, someone that could bring a bit more of like a disruptive, creative approach. And so he was looking for the role for a while. And then, you know, finally he actually threw out MeUndies as a brand that he like wanted to explore, like, you know, that type of marketer, right? Like, can we find someone from a brand like that? And so that's what, you know, had the recruiter then knock on my door, and that's how I got involved, because, you know, Matt, as you know, MeUndies, at least from the early days, you know, we had no money, and we had to go up against these like massive established underwear brands like the Victoria's Secrets, Calvin Klein's of the world. Like, that was like who everyone was buying. It was either that or like Fruit of the Loom, you know.
We had to convince people to buy underwear off the internet before that was a conceivable thing.
Totally. And like, no one even wanted to talk about underwear, right? Like, unless it was like a sexy, like Victoria's Secret Angel type of thing, or like Justin Bieber in black and white or something. So, you know, we were kind of forced at MeUndies to just figure out like, okay, how do we get people to start talking about their underwear without, you know, having to spend money on media that we didn't have, right? Because we would never be able to compete with the media dollars of those other big brands. Yeah. And so that led us to do things like, you know, crazy stunts, like when, you know, Joseph Randle, the ex running back for the Dallas Cowboys, got arrested for stealing underwear at a Dillard's, you know, outside of Dallas. You know, I tweeted at Adam Schefter saying we would pay his fine because we hate, you know, buying underwear from department stores too, right? And like, that led to this, you know, huge story on SportsCenter that following weekend, and now every sports fan in America knew what MeUndies was, right? And it just so happened that, like, you know, it was the right target market for us, because most men were holding on to the same pair of underwear for 7 years, which is super gross. And so they needed to know about the new D2C brand.
I'm coming at the end of my 7-year cycle. Everything is disintegrating, and I'm about to in the next 7 years.
Just takes one last ultra marathon to put it over the top.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. Yeah. So I mean, that was like how we were approaching marketing. And we were also, you know, getting into like new media that was really affordable, that was really powerful. Like, you know, MeUndies was really early on in the podcast marketing, advertising space, you know, working with all the biggest shows when it was really small dollars. So, you know, we had this really like scrappy, efficient mentality, and that's what Mike wanted to bring to Liquid Death. And obviously Mike had the most amazing brand already built. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point, but like, the brand really started with art first, which is what makes everything work, right? And then he wanted to figure out, how do we like scale up the creative that we have right now, you know, compete with the big players in beverage without spending a ton of cash on media, and build the brand for the mainstream without losing the like creative identity and core. And so, yeah, that was like how he brought me in, right? Like, I didn't know Mike beforehand. He, I think, saw me as like an outsider, right? Which I think he respected that. Obviously him and I bonded over snowboarding as well. And, you know, some of my, you know, history growing up listening to punk. But like, I think bringing that kind of outsider's perspective is what he wanted. And I kind of checked some of those boxes in terms of like both my youth and like what I was into personally, and then also how I was able to help build the MeUndies brand over the 8 years I was there. And then, I remember, Andy, I'll cycle this over to you, but I remember when Andy joined, I was really, really excited to have, you know, a partner in crime to help bring some of these campaigns to life. We were, you know, really just working with the CEO to try to write everything at the time. Mm-hmm. And Andy, I know you had a relationship with Mike before, but I'll let you kind of talk through how you joined in.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, like in terms of the way that Liquid Death, especially in the early days, the team was built, was like people that Mike knew or liked. And which it sounds goofy to say that, but like there were guys early, a lot of the founders were like his buddies from high school were involved in the very early days. And people we brought in early on like the lifestyle marketing team were rad snowboarders in the scene, or people that were musicians and stuff like that. And so like even I knew Mike very kind of I kind of knew him in like kind of ships passing in the night a bit, where we met at the first agency at Crispin Porter, like very briefly. I didn't really know him, but it was one of my first jobs and one of his earlier jobs. And then I ended up backfilling for a position that he was leaving, unbeknownst to both of us. He was leaving this agency, Humanot, and my wife and I were freelancing, and we kind of came in to fill this creative role that had opened up that I learned like literally years later after I got to Liquid Death was actually Mike leaving the agency. And then we were freelancing for a number of years, and through our connections from Crispin, I was turning in rounds of work to sort of our mutual bosses that had now been at different agencies. So at both Vayner Media and then later on at Donor, I was doing rounds of work, and again, unbeknownst to me, that work was actually going to his creative director, but was then going down to him as an ACD and later as a creative director. So Mike was looking at my work for like literally years without me really knowing it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so so he hit me up out of the blue almost 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago to the day, and was just like, "Hey, is this still your number? I started this Liquid Death thing. I don't know if you've seen it." I was like, "Yeah." And so yeah, he was like, "Yeah." We always felt like we were kind of on the same page creatively, and I think in the same way that Greg is saying, like, I think it was just because the stuff that I liked doing was sort of always like a little bit of like a satirical fuck you to marketing itself.
Yeah.
It was always like, it wasn't just like making an ad. It was like making kind of a point to make fun of something.
When did you realize that most marketing was hot garbage? like when, you know what I mean? Like,
I
mean, yeah. I mean, like, have you, first time the TV came on?
Do you have eyes?
My dad was in advertising, so I got to see, Chips Ahoy, Nabisco commercials before they were running live, and how that sausage was made. But yeah, I mean, like I say this, I've talked about this a little bit before, but like snowboarding, right? Like snowboarding when I was in high school and I was competing every week, like, that's when snowboarding was kind of at like its sort of peak of, kind of breaking into mainstream popularity. It was like around the time the X Games started to get more popular, and like the Do Tour started coming around, and it got into the Olympics for the first time. Like freestyle snowboarding like was not in the Olympics until, the early 2000s. Right. And so it was because of that sort of rise that like you started to get all these mainstream brands trying to come in and like make snowboarding like advertising, right? And like connect with the youth through snowboarding. And that was the moment when I sort of started to realize like, oh, these mainstream brands are just full of shit. Like they don't really know what's cool, right? They can't really connect with me. And maybe they were connecting with the mainstream like light user of snowboarding, or just, the casual, right? But I think that's the moment that like I sort of started to rebel against like mainstream advertising, and like snowboarding companies were doing this super well. There was a snowboard brand called Forum Snowboards, and they actually hired Billy Mays to do these snowboard ads. They talked about a snowboard ad, and I'll send you guys the link. They talked about a snowboard in this one as if it was like this do-all like home goods item, right? So it's like, you can use it as blinds for your windows. You can use it to chop carrots, like all this weird stuff. And that was the funniest thing to me, right? Like when you could actually make fun of advertising through this like inside jokes from snowboarding, like that was the kind of stuff that I thought was the funniest. Like I think, out of, most of the early YouTube videos that I was sharing with friends, like that was the one that I felt like I was always showing everyone. So yeah, like I think it's kind of like ingrained in my brain. I don't know about you, Andy, but at least from like a very young age, like early teens, that was like my point of view on this whole thing. But
Yeah.
Well, so is in the beginning, obviously having a bit of a personal connection to Mike, was it more his vision and that friendship and maybe the ability to be able to have that sort of fun at work that brought you on? Or did you actually feel the need that there was in the market for a new canned water? Like, was that part of the decision there, or was that kind of like the afterthought?
We joke sometimes about like, I don't know. I think Liquid Death, I think we treat it sometimes like a crazy art project in a way that like happens to be a business and a very successful one at that. And we have smart people that are doing the smart businessy things. But I think because we do treat it sort of in a way that it's like this piece of art, it frees us up to do stuff that we enjoy doing. And then, also as a result, hopefully, other people enjoy receiving out in the world. And so I think we just, we always talk about making entertainment first. It's hard to make a good ad. It's hard to make a funny ad. I always talk about the difference between like ad funny and actual funny. If you're starting from like, let's make a funny ad, you've already fucking lost. Right. And so if you're starting from like, let's make something that's funny, then you're getting somewhere. And then like, hey, and then we can figure out how to make it an ad later after we've gotten to the funny bit. And so I don't know, it sounds very simplistic, but it's weirdly like, rarely is it approached that way where, hey, let's make something that is genuinely entertaining and then figure out how to turn it into an ad.
So what does that look like? Like, as somebody that hasn't necessarily been in the like marketing room and, around the, strategy table, like, do you all use kind of more of your personal lives and experiences, like you hallucinating while you're running, and then you come back to work and you're like, I had this incredible idea while I was on mile 180, and I saw this deer and it looked like whatever. Or are you all actually sitting down weekly or at a certain point and saying like, okay, we're throwing things up on the board. We've got, our Post-it notes everywhere. Like, what does it actually look like?
Yeah, like I know that you guys, yeah, exactly. Like, I know that you guys have talked about like having a writer's room style, sort of team. Like, are you guys like, just taking notes of things like, oh, it would be funny if, right? Or it, and then I guess
a lot of times it's like, Greg's like, hey, we have so-and-so came to us and they want to do something. And we're like, okay. And then we just have a meeting where it sounds like it sounds very simplistic, but it kind of is. I was actually thinking, Greg, I was like, we should probably have like a real brief for this thing we're working on, but like, we don't really have briefs. We like occasionally when we like are feeling really professional, we'll like put together a brief or have a meeting about it. But almost more often it's sort of like we know the thing that's coming in and we know the thing that we want to do. It doesn't have to be insanely complicated, right? It doesn't have to be this whole like a bunch of decks that you take the creative team through and all the stuff we need to learn. So it's more just like, okay, so we want to talk about this, or we're going to partner with this brand or this celebrity or whatever, and then it's like, what do we do? And then it really isn't much more complicated than me and the team, and sometimes Greg joins us in like on a Google Meet where we just try to come up with like the dumbest, funniest thing. And that's often, that's kind of all there is to it. It's like, can we make the other people laugh?
It's a dream.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
I think the other thing too,
yeah, go ahead,
Andy,
Greg. Yeah.
The other thing too, and this is just a quick aside, like, I think, when it comes to a brief, I think like the reason why we sometimes will skip that step in the traditional sense is because like, at the end of the day, if we're doing a partnership with a celebrity or another brand, we're trying to figure out like, what's the most like obvious, logical thing that these two, brands would come together to make, right? In a way that, it has to start with real logic, and it needs to be simple enough for the mainstream public to understand and think is interesting, right? And so I think if we spent too much time on a brief where we get overly strategic, we're almost getting too in the weeds where like the idea kind of loses the beauty of like an unexpected partnership, and it starts getting too technical and too specific and becomes like, something that's like harping on the minutia of the other brand that like maybe not everyone knows that, knows that brand wants to behave that way. Right. And so by like removing some of that strategic work, we can keep like a bit of a beginner's mind type of mentality on the idea. Right. And I think that's what makes it work in earned media and work on social.
Do you guys, has this gotten harder or easier as you've expanded your product lines to iced teas and energy and things like that, like sparkling water? It used to be like water, like whatever's like interesting and wild about, sustainability and water and, like death, whatever, right? And all these things, and that could go in 1,000,001 different directions, and it did. And now you have these new products that you are seeking to sell, and so you're trying to represent the sort of, the value proposition of those, right? In new fun ways. So is it like different than how you approached it before, where it was like, yeah, fucking everybody drinks water, like you have to do that on a daily? Now it's like you're actually trying to sell, whether it's flavors or whether it's like a feeling like energy. Has that changed the process at all?
Not really the process. I think it just, it's a little bit more focused where we understand, we're getting a little more nuanced with who we're speaking to. And so it just kind of drives some of the starting places for creative work. So like energy, we recently did a campaign, targeting parents, because it's actually a huge opportunity with, young parents who may want, like Greg right here, who may be, dealing with newborns or young children.
Happy belated first Father's Day, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it just sort of gives us like, it just kind of focuses us sometimes on the starting block a little bit more than in the past, but the process is still exactly the same.
Yeah. And I think like we've also, when it was just the still mountain water, right? Like you didn't have to educate anyone about that, right? We were just trying to get people to know that liquid death existed. And so we had a lot of flexibility there with what we could do to get people to know, to hear the name liquid death, right? So like, we had things like the Tony Hawk blood deck, right? That has literally nothing to do with the product, right? And it, can win the internet. We can win the internet for selling a skateboard, and that gets people to understand, oh, by the way, Liquid Death, this water company made this thing, right? And I think now, as we've 5 years removed from that, it's like we can take that same thinking but apply it to more of the specific product categories and work in some of the reasons to believe in our products that take a little bit more explanation than just still water, right? And then that just gives a brief to Andy, like a little bit more of like a starting place, right? Like, okay, our flavored sparkling water is like a healthy soda, right? It's a lower sugar option. And so what's like a really funny lower sugar idea, right? And then he can run with that. And now we're making something that potentially could win the internet, that also like, you're going to see this thing, you're going to laugh. And then like subconsciously now you're going to think of Liquid Death as, a soda flavored sparkling water.
But it's still going to be like, oh, it has 1/10 the sugar of soda. So we're going to chop off Tony Hawk's head and just use 1/10 of him as a spokesperson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, the like thought process doesn't change. It just kind of, it's like, okay, well, where are we starting from? And
you just have like a tiny bit of guide rails now instead of like just having all of the options.
And Matt, you were kind of, teasing this earlier, but I think the thing that's been helpful for me is to think of Liquid Death as like this character in this like weird sprawling, like 4-dimensional television program that we're writing for, and is like sort of just spilling out of the internet and onto TVs and everywhere. And so if you can kind of get inside the head of the character in the same way that you'd write for a TV program, then when it's whatever the brief is or whatever the assignment is, you're just like, okay, well, what would Liquid Death do in this situation? If this is the plot point that these two characters meet, what happens in that room? And so weirdly, the process is less about, like, I think traditionally the process with creative is like, try to throw as many things on a wall as you can, and like, here's 50 things that we could do, and then we're going to whittle down to 20, and then we're going to like present those 20, and then we're all going to have an opinion on which one we think works and doesn't and why. And it's the opposite. It's like, can we just bring like one idea? can we just get it to, we're just trying to find like the one right idea. And I always make that assumption. I was like, there's a right idea on what we should do here. We just have to almost like uncover that. And so it's sort of an inversion of the process in a way. And obviously you have to do some of the, like, you know, coming up with a bunch of ideas and kind of getting down, but it's more about like focusing. And we do this in meetings sometimes when we're sitting with Mike evaluating ideas, and we're like, well, that's the thing that Liquid Death would do. Like in this situation, that's what Liquid Death would do. And then everyone like looks around and is like, yeah, that's the answer. And so it takes like in a positive way, it takes the subjectivity out of it, I think, where we're all trying to objectively decide, is this the thing that Liquid Death would do? And usually that's a pretty fast agreement on what that thing is.
You know, we work with a ton of like unexpected partners, right? Like that's something that we've become known for, is like unexpected partnerships and collabs. And I think that is because we treat the brand like a character and not like a brand, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you're a brand partnership, you know, if you're a brand that takes partnerships, you know, the way that typically brands do, you're looking for like the right partner that fits the brand. And there's like all these things that like need to be true for us to come together and make something, right? And when that happens, you end up making something that is not going to like really be super shareable. There's not going to be a lot of tension there, because you need to like, they need to make sense together, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the main differences for us, is because we treat it like a character. You know, a character in a TV show is going to come across partners and have to interact with things that like don't make sense for it, right? And that's like, I think, where it opens us up to be able to do things with unexpected partners, because Andy's treating it like a character. There can be an answer for how an interaction could go with any type of brand, right? No matter what they make, no matter what product, you know, what industry they're in. I think obviously we have certain rules, like we don't want to work with companies that are overly reliant on single-use plastics. Like we got to like draw the line somewhere with certain things, but that doesn't mean we couldn't come up with a great idea for a company like that, right? It's just that we probably wouldn't do it for our values' sake. But yeah, treating it like a character allows us to like continuously find unexpected partners and keep the internet guessing, like, what is it that they're going to do next? And you know, when I think about the future of the brand, like we're just scratching the surface of who we could work with and the types of fun we can have with other brands if we keep treating Liquid Death like a character.
And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. I just read the craziest stat. Over 3 billion people open fortune cookies in the US per year.
3 billion?
Billion with a B.
What? Say more about this.
And so I learned that these guys open fortune. They own the fortune cookie, and they're putting brands now inside of this cookie and distributing their messaging through 100,000 restaurants, reaching 300 million people per month.
Okay, I just Googled them. They've worked with is this right? Mr. Beast, SoFi, Bayes, Duolingo, Dr. Squatch, Liquid Death, Waymo, Manscaped, Dude Wipes, Hard Rock, Verizon. I could literally go on. That's crazy.
Yeah. All of them. They're creating these amazing, what they call mini billboard moments inside of these fortune cookies, catching people at a time where they're just not expecting to see an ad. It's a really cool Trojan horse marketing idea.
I should have thought of this.
If you're interested in learning more, which you should be, because this is just incredibly cool, head to openfortune.com.
Best Brands on Earth is brought to you by Tracksuit. Every CEO and CFO wants to know, what impact is brand driving for our business? And that's exactly what Tracksuit has set out to answer. Look, most brand teams are either working from stale data or stitching together proxies, Google Analytics, social numbers, the odds survey, whatever. that tell you about your existing customers, but not how the total market actually sees you. Tracksuit is continuous monthly brand tracking. You see what's moving, what's shifting, what your competitors are doing in the category fast enough that you can actually do something about it. And the dashboard is modern, it's beautiful, it's shareable, it's the kind of thing that you'll actually be happy to open. So if you want to find out what your brand health looks like and how you stack up against your competitors in your category, head to gotracksuit.com now. Does the idea lead to the casting, or does the casting lead to the idea? Like, I guess a couple things. One, I know that some people that you've worked with, have been investors and are very caring and passionate about the brand and want to help in any way that they can. Others have been, Greg, like you said, like people that you've reached out to, whether it's, like we've had Cherie, who's a porn star. We've had, Bert Kreischer, who's an incredible, hilarious human, and all these different people. So like, which informs which? And then I guess the other question is how do you, it sounds from Andy that like, Greg, you're probably getting just a ton of inbound these days. We want to work with you. We want to work with you, right? Like all the time. How do you sift through that and decide what to say yes to and what to say no to, which is more often?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll start with the celebrity side, because I think, I was talking earlier about how we are, try to keep things scrappy and efficient with spend. And, you hear those things and then you see that we work with big celebrities. You're like, wait, how does that work? Right? Like those two things don't go together. And so when it comes to celebrities, I think the key for us is that we have built a brand that certain types of talent and celebrities really love, because they're entertainers as well, right? And they see what we're doing and they see us not as just like another corporation trying to sell a product. They see us as an entertainment partner, right? And they want to get involved because they love the brand and they think what we're doing is really cool, right? And so, Mike is developing these really strong personal relationships with these people, and they want to be involved not just as like an ambassador, but they want to invest in the brand as well. And a lot of like the Tony Hawks, the Bert Kreischers of the world, they're investors and ambassadors of the brand, right? And so we're able to work with them. Not those are ones where it's like, hey, we see some real, true love between the two of us. Let's do something bigger together. And then we decide, okay, Liquid Death as a character, what would we do with Bert, right? That's the order of operations typically for celeb stuff that we're doing, because that's the way that we can make it work from a budget perspective and keep things scrappy. And then, yes, on the brand side, a lot is inbound nowadays. It wasn't always the case. But I think brands come to us now, and Andy and I joke about this, like, we're kind of like the SNL stage now, where other brands want to be funny. They want to show a different side of themselves, but they don't feel like they can do it alone, right? Because it would feel too different from what they normally are doing, right? And I think that's why you see brands like really only doing this on like April Fool's Day, right? Because they're like, oh, this is our chance to let our hair down a little bit. And I think the other way that they can do it now is coming and doing a collaboration with Liquid Death, right? Because now they're coming into our world, right? The same way that a non-comedian celebrity host of SNL can come into the SNL world for a week, work with comedians, get really funny, crush on skits, and show a different side of themselves to the world. A lot of that same feeling is happening with other brands that are coming to work with us. And so, and for us, I mean, we have to say no to some partners, obviously, but like, it's not because they're not the right fit for us necessarily. Like, we kind of look at everyone as like, oh, there's some serious opportunity here. And the weirder and the different the relationship can be, the better it can be for the output and the creative idea in a lot of ways. So, that's kind of like how, those sort of partnerships come about.
I was obsessed with Kegs for Pregs with Kylie Kelsey. I just thought that was so smart and so funny. Even better reading some of the comments of like maybe some of the mixed comments where you can immediately see who is and who's not funny. I'm like, how did you guys not think this was funny? Like, you're taking things way too seriously. Yeah, that was hysterical. Really funny. And that partnership works so well with like the ethos of who that family is, who she is, and just really, you know, also highlights you all and what you're doing. So yeah, just thought that was genius.
How
Thank you.
as you guys think about like, you know, growth and continuing to build out this team, like how do you, I guess, like how do you hire for somebody to join you and
do you ask them
add
super
more
weird
value to the
questions?
pool? Yeah, like exactly. Like is the process different, and how do you protect that culture? Like what are you looking for that may be different from like an experience interviewing or trying to join another, you know, marketing creative organization at a different company?
I don't know, Andy, I feel like we can both have two different answers for this because we're building, like, our teams kind of complement each other, right? Like my side, like the brand side, is kind of more, when it comes to the campaigns that you see, it's more of like a executive production arm of the entertainment content that Andy and his team are developing the creative for. So like think of it as like an entertainment company, right? You need like your business, you know, financial doers, right? The production side, and that, not traditional production, like, you know, actual cameras and lighting and all of that. Obviously that sits within Andy's team. But for my side, you know, I'm looking for, you know, people who have worked on brands that like to focus more on earned media and creative campaign building. And I really love finding people that work on smaller teams where they have to wear a lot of hats. Because, you know, when we take on an idea and we do something that's never been done before, like give away a fighter jet, right? You need someone that's going to like feel comfortable doing things that have never happened, right? And it's like that you need someone that's like, maybe they've had like some sort of startup experience. They've been like a builder, right? Or a grower. And they can come in and feel comfortable in that type of chaos, right? Mm-hmm. They're super organized. They are self-starters. They're very entrepreneurial. Like that's the type of person that I'm looking for my team. And that's how we're able to, you know, consistently keep launching these campaigns that aren't just videos. Like they're actual real things that we're doing, whether it's an experience, a giveaway, a product that we're making, right? Like these are things that we're actually putting out into the world as real things people can experience, not just you know, campaign videos. So we need doers, self-starters, people that are excited to take on projects that feel chaotic at first.
I want to hear Andy's answer in a sec, but before I forget, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you like one or two examples of things that you put out that just fucking flopped, like just horrible, did not work. Like we got it. But anyway, Andy, go ahead.
Are you going to let us off on that question? Cool.
Nope. That's next. That's next.
Yeah, I mean, you know, honestly, like we haven't really hired much for the creative team in quite a while because we all really like working here and we all get along really well and no one wants to leave, as far as I know. Yeah, I mean, for us, it's like for the creative team, I mean, I'm the most buttoned up nerd, like marketing dork. Everybody else is like fucking had their own Adult Swim TV shows and plays in punk bands that still tour and stuff like that. And
awesome.
So yeah, I mean, it's like, it's finding people, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the people that Mike brought in earlier. It was like a lot of the people were just like people that Mike reached out to because he liked their art or he appreciated their writing or something like that. And so we can, like, between Greg and I and a couple other people here, we can shape the stuff into something that is shaped like an ad. Like we can do that bit, but if you don't have the wet clay of like a true, like someone who's really like an artist or entertainer or something like that. Like you just don't have like those starter ideas. So even I tell guys on the team, I'm like, nobody else has a you, and a lot of your ideas are wildly unusable. But like, but like no other marketing department has you in them, and so I just need you to keep being you, and it's my job to kind of take all that stuff and make it into an appreciable idea. So that's the, we get to work occasionally. We'll do like writers rooms with, we'll bring in like stand-up comics and writers and people from the outside and just kind of like do a day with people and jam like that. So,
it's super refreshing to hear, a company saying there's so many people that are so unbelievably talented and have had experience doing the corporate ladder sort of situation, but they're just as beneficial to what we're doing here as somebody, more.
Way more, because no one else is hiring them. And so,
exactly.
like if you can find the right people that have the right worldview as you do. And I think when you look at the creative team, we all have our own like unique tweaks on where our brains go. So the very cool thing is when we put something out, when it's a new piece of work, I'm always like, oh God, that was such a Brendan idea, or that's such a, Will idea or Mike idea or whatever. And it's all under the umbrella of Liquid Death, because it's all like our kind of weird collective sensibilities, but like there's little flavors underneath it. And so I think that's why the brand feels it doesn't feel like it gets smoothed out by like consistent branding, because it actually is made up of all these individuals, Greg and myself and other people, who like actually have our own weird little points of view and fingerprints that we put on stuff, and we let that be. And so I think that's why I don't know, anything we do
it's feels like an artist pop-up. Every week there's like a different person that's like popped up in in that idea. Yeah,
totally.
Cool.
So we all have our little imprints that we're kind of always putting on the work throughout it.
That's super cool.
I mean, we have stuff that doesn't work. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, hopefully our batting average is a little bit higher than most, but we've I don't know, the hydration combine is one that always comes to mind on stuff that we did. Sports have occasionally, some sports things are like breaking sports humor is actually, I find it a little bit more challenging than like traditional pop culture stuff.
Yeah.
That's one that comes to mind.
Yeah. I mean, look, like we have to be so consistent. That's part of why like an earned media strategy, that's part of how an earned media strategy can actually work, is like you need to consistently launch things, right? Like you can't just, have like your 2 things a year that you do that hopefully go viral, right? Like it needs to be consistent, because some things are going to work really well and others are not, right? And I think the reason why I Googled
Liquid Death. I Googled it, and I just if you just Google Liquid Death and go to news right now, you have battles Long Island iced tea in mock workplace productivity study, treats parenting like MMA in sparkling energy ad. Liquid Death and Feastables are really making peanut butter cup water. Taylor Morrison and Liquid Death partner to create the ultimate home luxury, where soda flavored sparkling water is flowing from every faucet. So that's just page 1.
Right. And I think like our definition of success is a little different, right? Like I think things that we might call like, I guess, how do I say this? We have it when you're consistent like that, what you're looking for is that like multi-billion impression, massive viral hit, right? And those are really hard to do, right? But we've been able to figure out how to do them consistently. Now, does that mean that something that doesn't hit that level of virality is a flop? No, because there's so many outside of our control reasons that something can like hit that level of, earned awareness, and why other things don't. And, to Andy's point, one of my favorite examples of this is we actually put a bet on the Super Bowl a few years ago. And like, we were all so excited about this idea. Like we all thought this was going to be front page news, huge hit. We put a bet on the Super Bowl. And let me tell you, figuring out with finance how a brand account can put money on a Super Bowl, especially when you're, I won't even get into the logistics because I don't know, our legal team was lighter then. But like we figured out a way to place a bet on the Super Bowl as a company. And then to secure the bet, we found a witch in Burbank to actually, cast some spells on it, do some work on it in advance. And then we bought them a ticket to go to the game and try to help influence what happened at the game. And between how superstitious sports fans are and, the fact that sports betting at the time was such a massive conversation and no brand had ever done that before, we thought this was going to be a home run. And then we launch it and it doesn't get really much press in the sports world for some reason. And we can't figure it out. And then we realize, about 5 minutes beforehand, Tom Brady announced he was it retiring or was
coming out of retirement?
Coming out of retirement.
Back.
Oh,
Yeah. And so it's that's the kind
timing.
of stuff that you deal with, right? Is you
also if it had worked and the Rams had actually, or if the Bengals had actually won, I bet it would have been a different outcome as well. And that's
true.
where we were hoping.
Damn, so she wasn't even a real witch? This is really upsetting.
No, it's explained you can't control the outcomes. It's sort of it's
it was an energy
It's
thing
more
from
of
her.
a
She was-
Yeah.
which disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
hysterical.
But that's part of the nature of doing an earned media strategy is you have to be consistent because you don't know what's going to happen that day.
I don't
You're
even
competing with-
want to know where does one find a witch to
Etsy, they're
Yelp,
all over.
Burbank.
It's like crazy.
right?
Yeah.
Burbank.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing I'll say too is Greg, I'm going to bring up the podcast, but man, I've been listening to the Lonely Island and Seth Meyers podcast, and I'm fucking obsessed with it.
Same.
And the thing I love about that, because I've been pulling a lot of similarities. Obviously, those guys are insanely more talented and successful than we are, but you realize for these people that you're man, these guys are so talented and they have all these massive hits. They're also bombing
all the time.
80% of the time. And you just you have, in order to hit those big things, you just have to consistently be doing work, and they're putting out something basically every single week. And it's whether it's good or not. And sometimes we I think the act of doing and making stuff and putting it out and seeing what works and what doesn't is part of the craft too. It's not just holding it all in until we feel we have our two big ideas for the year. Now we're going to put all our money behind it. So that always heartens me when I listen to that thing and hear about them bombing, because I'm it is a holy part of the process. And I think in the marketing world, we don't allow for things we don't plan on things to not go well. There's always this has to be the best thing we've done. And I think we always obviously want that, but I think almost the consistency of making work and trying things is more important than the making sure everything is the highest quality product, because sometimes things will surprise you or things won't work out or whatever it is.
Yeah, 1000%. Also, it's interesting mentioning you guys kind of have cracked the code on figuring out how to continuously have this work that really just does super well in terms of visibility and reactions from your buyers and consumers. We happen to, at this podcast, we work with our partner Tracksuit, which I know Matt was using at Turo forever. They are really the best brand health tracking platform on the planet. And they help us bring some interesting data points to the show. So I wanted to share one with you that they sent over, because
Cool.
I think it's a good kind of conversation here is, your entertainment is working, and all the ads and creativity that you're putting out is working. But there was a bit of a tension in this data point that they sent over, So Liquid Death is one of the most recommended brands in its competitive set at 60%, which is amazing. But it's actually last on a brand that I'm going to serve others at 31%. So people will tell their mates about it, but maybe not necessarily have it set out at a dinner party. And I wanted to know what you make of that gap, and why so many people are just talking about it, but not necessarily why it's not translating maybe to showing up at people's, homes or dinner parties.
It's so interesting because we have so much data that actually says that it's the party water, right? Like it's the thing that people are buying for parties because it's way more fun to have a water when it looks like a beer when you're I
agree.
When you're out and around people that are drinking alcohol. So like we've done really well in that sense, right? And there's people that I think maybe only purchase our water for reasons like that, right? They're not reaching for us for their daily water source, but when they do have, a party, that's what they're going for, right? So that's really interesting. I'd love to dive into that report.
I'm going to have to ask them. No, that's really good. I actually love hearing that.
Is it just a survey of butlers that you're serving people?
Exactly. They hate carrying heavier cans.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I respect data and Tracksuit does a great job on stuff. But sometimes it's like sometimes it's the way that things are phrased in sort of a weird, it's like, which one would you rather serve to people? And it's like, well, I can't serve them Liquid Death. That'd be crazy. But, like to Greg's point, we see all the data that one of the number one ways that people get in the brand is by friends and family, word of mouth, by someone telling someone else. So,
well, yes, that it said. So that is correct.
Right.
They agree on that one.
So like some of these data points seem to be kind of contradictory, I would say.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think a lot of it too is whether you care, you know what I mean? Like obviously you'd care if it was like nobody is doing this thing, but you also seem to really have a confidence behind everything that you're doing and who you are and who the character is and how to continue moving that forward. And so maybe the data point doesn't, matter as much in that situation.
Or maybe they don't want to give their Liquid Death to somebody else because they spend all their hard-earned money on it.
I like that.
It's so true. They're like, I would
They're
never
gonna hoard
serve
it.
By the way, I'm about to switch from Cherry Obituary to Dr. Death in a second.
Let us know how it goes.
I will.
Do you all have a favorite product? I have to ask, like, is there an actual, flavor can or specific Liquid Death that you all are picking up all the time when you're working and creating more Liquid Death?
I'll go first. I mean, you've been seeing me like pretty consistently drinking from either this can or this can on the show just now. My go-to throughout the day is the 19.2 Mountain Water still. I want to make sure I'm staying super hydrated, and it's a really easy way to drink a lot of water. And then the energy drinks, it's our newest product. It's got 100 milligrams of caffeine, so it's closer to a cup of coffee than some of the electric chair inducing feelings that you get from other ones. And so I've been really liking that product as well. But no, we keep like a variety of flavored sparkling waters in our fridge. My wife and I love the flavors. I think
I know this is a podcast, but I'm going to show you guys.
Yes, please. Oh my God, yes.
Flavors we've ever made.
How cool.
It is. But the thing is wild, like when Greg and I started, it was 2. And now, I mean, this is like
do you guys
50,
get to come up?
60?
Have you come up with the names? Are you like the people behind OPI nail polish? Because I always am like, that seems like the coolest job ever to me, where they just get to make up the like weirdest and craziest names for colors of nail polish. Are you all like having fun and coming up with the names as well?
Yeah, we'll do it. Mike names them sometimes. We'll work on them. Yeah, just kind of however the natural process works on that.
Yeah, very cool.
So this is actually a great segue because you guys are so much bigger than you were when you both started five plus years ago, or a little bit less than 5 years ago for Andy. But you've sort of like, in a way, like you entered into water, but you've kind of created this category and this notion of like thinking through a brand as a character, like knowing that you're not the new kid on the block anymore, and knowing that there's a world and down the road in which one day you are a public company and you're trying to serve the masses and you're being distributed everywhere and you're international, all these things, like how much do you intentionally seek to disrupt yourselves and think and anticipate, like, how do we keep the joke going? How do we keep the entertainment flowing such that, like, look, like, shout out to Dane Cook, because I used to like love sitting in my car when I was a kid and like listen to his shit, but like, how do you not become Dane Cook, where it's just like, this feels like we've heard this 1,000 times before, you know what I mean? And you have the pressure of, like, you guys are, I don't know, 30s, 40s, whatever, right? You like there's so many kids now who are in their 20s who the world is seeing humor and entertainment differently, and they're close to, they're super close to culture. Like, what are the things that you guys are doing to ensure that you're sort of future proofing and not either quote unquote selling out or becoming boring or just like another one of the category? Does that make sense?
Totally. All I heard was Dane Cook, and how do we not become Dane Cook?
Great.
God, fuck.
Well, there's
Amazing.
a very, I think, easy answer to that, but then also,
Yeah. No, I mean, look, we always, to go back to the SNL analogy, I mean, SNL has been on the air for 51 seasons, 52 now going on. Because that program is about continually ingesting pop culture, like macerating it, like chewing on it, and then like regurgitating it in this weird way that is sort of similar across the years. But then if you look at it, obviously it is able to flex and change over time, and from one season to the next there's sort of different sensibilities. And so I think, like, we've said, like, we're not, we are a beverage brand, but we don't just play in the beverage category. And so we keep it more open for us to go, like Greg said, like, give away a fighter jet or plumb a house with liquid death, or, hire a witch to do something. Like, there's just like, there's sort of infinite possibilities in the world around us. And as long as we just keep playing and making stuff that feels fun, I don't think that never gets old. And then, it just allows us to, even if you look back at the work that we were doing from 5 years ago until now, or even like a year ago into now, it has evolved and changed over time, and the sensibilities that we have and the kind of ideas we make and the way we actually execute them has changed. And so we're sort of always, continuously pulling stuff in, and I don't think that won't get old. It'll just continue to evolve.
Yeah. You guys started natively this way. Like, this is seemingly kind of what I think, as I've heard Mike do interviews before, like, he recognized that, like, the best marketing doesn't feel like marketing at all. It's really through the lens of entertainment. Like, what advice would you have for other brands that, are so ingrained or so seemingly ingrained in, like, this way of doing things? Like, how would you encourage them to get out of their own way?
Very hard.
Come collab with us and let us make something fun for you. I mean,
it's true though.
Do the opposite of what you're doing right now.
Stop.
It sounds like they're trying, right? They're coming to you.
I imagine that happens a lot, Matt, where people come to you and ask you not only for, like, these types of interviews, but like, hey, can you come? Yeah, can you come, like, look at our business a little bit or give us ideas? But unless you, like, are innately those people like you all are, and you have that very specific
there's an
skill
idea.
set.
The Liquid Death Consultancy. We help your brand not suck.
Maybe.
I mean, but, like, you might just, it's one of those things where I'm always like, oh, is that something that people can learn, or is that just something that you're kind of born with? And I think a lot of it is, like, the creative people that you have on your team have had a lifelong set of skills that, like, are not marketing skills, that are specific to help you all. And unless that company maybe has some of that, I don't know if it works.
I think you have to have a natural like bullshit meter. Like to me, that's the big thing is like what we're doing is not crazy. It just is that we're taking time to like think about things critically and that sort of obviously like Greg's background and my background is like, we don't want to just keep pumping out the same crap over and over again. Right. And so like, it just, I don't know, it just takes you stepping back and thinking about, hey, what processes do we need to keep? What do we need to lose? What do we need to rethink? Where should we be putting our money? Where should we be putting our time? Is this thing really worth it? I think like all of that sort of satirical lens that we put on the creative and sort of cynicism, I don't know, like the positive cynicism, but I think we are very naturally cynical here, but in a way to kind of achieve a positive result in that like we don't take things for granted, or we take things because that's the way they've been done. And so I really enjoy that. Like, I think that's what Greg and I both enjoy, is to find new ways to do things that other people haven't bothered to think of yet. And I think that's like a sensibility you can nurture if you choose to step back. It comes from like us simultaneously loving this and thinking like marketing fucking sucks. And you have to have both the love and a little bit of the disdain to make it better, you know.
Like,
and
you're allowed to point out the faults of it. Like, you should, people are allowed to be like, this is dumb.
I just think the people that are blindly like, they love marketing so much, and you're just like, have you seen what's out there, man? It's really bleak. It's pretty dark. But then simultaneously, a lot of people have like just deep, genuine cynicism about the industry, which I also think is unhelpful. And I think you have to like find this middle ground that it's like, no, this is really fun. We just have to choose to make the right choices. And that's harder than it appears.
And I mean, one of the things that I don't want to like, talk about this too lightly. Like we built this to be like, we built this as like our strategy. We have fully committed to like make this type of content, this type of marketing. Like we've fully committed to it, right? We've got the creative team that we've hired and Andy's been working with to make sure we keep pumping this stuff out. I built our team of producers and brand managers that are excited to do this stuff every day and prioritize it, right? Like we fully committed to doing this. I think a lot of companies that we talk to, it's a side project. It's a once every 6 months time that we're going to go and do this. So of course it's not going to work because you haven't fully committed to it, right? Yeah. Whether with budget or with people and resources. So it's not going to happen overnight. You have to like fully commit to it. I think, for me, like a lot of VPs of marketing, it's like you either come from the brand side or the performance, marketing side. And a lot of times you need someone that can do both. And I think for us, like we've really just prioritized the brand side for this. And then we have our performance media people that work on that part of the business. And we figured out a really great way to work hand in hand with each other. And like, I'm filling the top of their funnel with really cheap, efficient traffic, and they're figuring out how to convert them at the bottom. We're not trying to, have everyone do everything, here at Liquid Death. And I think that's really important. And then, cause it protects the creative, right? It protects the brand. And then what are you laughing at?
Sorry, I just want to make like Valentine's Day cards for media people that are like, I'll fill the top of your funnel any day. Sorry.
But the other thing I'll say too is like, I think the thing that I'm sure Andy has felt this way more than I have, but I've felt it too in my own ways over the years at where I've been. But like, I think here we end up making the idea that everyone in the room at other companies laughed at for 5 minutes, but then we're like, yeah, we can't do that. You know what I mean? Like we actually like, we see that idea. We're like, no, that's the thing, because we all just laughed at it for 5 minutes. And like, now let's go make that real. And I think
I love it. I feel like you guys are the ones that like win all the awards in Cannes, and then you're like not there. this week. You know what I mean? It's like that's the beauty.
Well, we
That's
don't
the
win any
irony.
awards because we don't enter for them.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But I think it's like if you a lot of companies have really great creatives, but that are coming up with really good ideas, but that they get killed on the chopping room floor, and they're just
Or
they're not making
to your
it.
point, the infrastructure isn't there.
The infrastructure is not there to
let them
celebrate
live.
that
Yeah.
to celebrate that stuff. And so I would say if you're a marketing leader or a CEO somewhere, and you want to figure out a way to start taking some of the liquid death magic, like look to your creative team and the people that are coming up with this stuff, and try to figure out where are the great ideas dying, right? Like why aren't they getting to the top, and what's the cause of that? And I think a lot of times it's you're only as funny or creative as your top decision maker. So if you've got someone at the very top who's trying to make things more mediocre or palatable, like it's going to make doing what we do very difficult for you. But if you're willing to commit to it and to really find those great ideas and to celebrate them, I think they exist with other teams. We're not the only people with good, funny, creative concepts, right? I think Andy probably
Disagree.
I'm sure but I'm sure talk to a lot of creatives that I'm sure wish they could be on our team because they've got ideas that are similar or that at Liquid Death would be celebrated, but they aren't where they are, right?
Yeah, I think we feel very lucky to have the whole architecture around us to make sure that we can do the stuff that we get to do. I think we feel very #blessed a lot because I'm being kind of kidding and kind of serious because we really do. There's not another place that I know that's like this that really the point is to make the best brand in the world, to best brand on earth, to bring it all the way around to your title here. But really, I mean, that was sort of, I think, partially what Mike set out to do in the beginning was hey, can we make a brand that feels more fun than every beer brand on earth and feels more fun than every candy brand? And that's sort of been the crazy moonshot goal, is to do this thing that feels bigger than everybody else. And I don't know, I haven't ever heard of anyone just being let's go for it.
Did you guys try to put Liquid Death on the moon the last time they were headed up there? Because that feels like something that you all would have tried to do.
Moon water.
We can't talk about that.
We can't talk about that.
God, I'm so sorry. Okay. We're coming up on time here, but we want to finish with the last thing that we do on all of these podcasts. And it's a segment that we like to call Crumbs of Wisdom. Which is presented by Open Fortune, which you all actually did a fun collaboration with, and you did Misfortunes. You sent out black fortune cookies around New York City and pretty much told everybody instead of their future how they were going to die, which was really funny. So what we do is Open Fortune has sent over questions. We don't know what they are. They're in the cookie. And Matt's going to go ahead and pick one and ASMR the shit out of our podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, did Open Fortune write these questions?
Yes, we don't know what they are. And I don't, so that could be serious, could be funny.
This is a good
I'm
branded
not sure.
bit. I like this.
Yeah, this is great.
It's what are you wearing? Just kidding. Could you imagine?
Okay.
Yes.
The question
It says Open
is,
Fortune.
Oh,
yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
it was blurry for me. I'm sorry.
Technology. What's the thing you believe about creativity that most people think is naive?
I mean,
I'll go. I think I've learned humor is something you can learn. And I don't think I ever believed that before this job. I thought it was something that you kind of innately have. And you're either a funny stand-up comedian or you weren't. And there was no thing.
You mean you weren't always just hilarious growing up, Andy?
I mean, I was a pretty funny little kid. I mean, but I do think like I said, the sort of process of making stuff, it's a skill set that you get to practice and hone just like anything else. And you get to analyze. And, especially coming here, I've just had to learn to ingest and analyze and think critically about how humor works. And I genuinely believe it's something that everybody can learn to do. And I don't think I would have ever have thought that before having this job.
I mean, I think like the way that we've approached it is, you know, we're setting out to make people laugh, right? That's like we've really like simplified the goal, right? And I think other people may see that as naive, right? Like, oh, you can't just make someone laugh. They're not gonna do what you want them to do. You're not gonna force them to buy your product because they laughed at a joke, right? Like, I think what we've found is that if we can get someone to laugh at a piece of our social content, they, you know, it's the quickest way to their heart for them to truly love the brand. And then, yeah, sure, they may not, you know, go straight to the grocery store after seeing a video. They may not go to the grocery store right after seeing that video just to buy Liquid Death. But the next time that they are shopping and they see us in the aisle, they're going to look at us versus all the other products and be like, oh, that company made me laugh. Like, I've connected with that brand. I might not even remember what it was that I saw, but I want to give them a try now, right? And so I think
1000%.
like the power of the simple goal of making someone laugh, I think is a lot of other brands might see that as naive. Other people might see that as naive, but I think it's been one of the most powerful tools for us as a business.
Awesome.
I love it.
So well said.
Great answers.
Andy,
good
Greg,
answers, good answers.
Liquid Death has been, is, and will continue to be one of the best brands on earth. Go and buy some. Have it at a party, but don't serve it to anybody else, because
Keep it all for yourself.
Keep it for yourself.
Keep it
Let's
all for
get that
yourself.
number even lower. Let's get down to 20s on that.
2%. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Make them buy their
really
own. Yeah.
Deeply appreciate this. It's been so fun to spend time with you guys. It's been too long. And you know, maybe we'll do it again in a year or two and talk about some new shit.
Yeah.
All right.
You should then.
Thank you both.
Thank you guys.
Well, those guys are boring.
Super boring. The most boring.
They're so fun. And you know how every episode I'm like, is there a job where I can just come up with ideas and then like not figure out the rest? And I'm like, oh my God, this is my job. I should have pitched myself.
Evidently there is. Yeah. You can just, again,
Right?
Hayley Clover idea rainmaker.
I don't I don't know. I'm like, this is where the imposter syndrome comes in. I'm like, I feel like maybe I could do that, but I don't know. Their stuff is really funny and just so out there. And then I think of my brother. I'm like, my brother would be very good at this.
Yeah.
But yes, they're just, gosh, they're so much fun, and the brand is incredible, and they've done so much in the fairly short amount of time that it's been on the market. It's just like, I guess when I went into this and thinking and knowing how much people really study their brand, I was thinking it was maybe going to be a bit more complex, and I just love the simplicity behind it. Like, I love that they're like, we're literally just trying to make people laugh, because as a non-marketer, every time I'm always like, that ad sucked and it was so boring. Like, if you just made me laugh, I'd like the product. And that's what they're doing. I'm like, yes.
So much research went into that, and so much, you know, so many different cooks in the kitchen. It is so refreshing. And you know, it's funny, like, I know that Andy said that, you know, his perspective is that you can sort of learn to be funny or learn comedy, which I think is definitely true. Like, that's a skill you can work at. But at the same time, something that I really think about as it pertains to them talking about team and Mike bringing on, you know, friends of his and people that he thinks are interesting from like a music or a comedy or a writing standpoint, is like, I've said this for years. The biggest thing that resumes miss out on are people's lived experience. And I just think that, like, the fact that they, you know, were listening to punk, snowboarding, you know, having these types of experiences, these types of interests, and all meshing and seeing things from more of an indie spirit and more of a countercultural lens, I think allows them to have a better barometer for what is actually funny and entertaining. And you know, it's kind of the streetwear of it all, where like all of a sudden like streetwear is everywhere. Well, that's because it was always cool, and that's where it starts. And I think that their team, from a hiring lens and who's on the team, is so drastically different. Like, Greg talking about basically bringing on people that just like are scrappy and wear multiple hats and are you know can kind of are gadget people that can do everything. And Andy saying, hey, you know, it's really just about like, you know, your sort of barometer for feeling comfortable of like buying a jet or getting a witch to go and place a bet on the Super Bowl. Like,
that was hysterical. I'm so mad that didn't take off in the way they wanted, because that is
damn Bengals.
I was literally just talking to somebody about how you can pay a witch on Etsy to like put a spell on somebody else. Like, it's just hysterical that that's a thing out there. And so, yeah, I wish that would have worked.
I mean, yeah, now you're probably betting on Kalshi. It's probably witches, or, you know,
right.
Whatever. So such a great episode. Can't wait for you all to watch it, listen to it. Speaking of which,
well, if they're hearing this right now, they've listened.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's yeah. But otherwise, where else can people find us, Hayley Clover?
Well, yeah, now that you've listened to this episode on likely Spotify or Apple Podcasts, maybe you're watching us on YouTube, you can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Best Brands on Earth. And if you happen to not have found the YouTube yet, it's BBOE on YouTube.
Yes.
Feel free to hit that subscribe button.
And also check us out, Matt Kerbel and Hayley Clover on LinkedIn. And we also have a LinkedIn page for Best Brands on Earth that you can follow along if you feel so inclined.
All the places. Yeah.
All the places. All right.
Thanks, Matt.
That was great.
Next time. That was awesome.
Sounds good.
Loved it.
Bye.
Bye. Best Brands on Earth is a podcast from the Cleos, hosted by Hayley Clover and Matt Kerbel. Produced by Third Wall Creative. Original music for BBOE composed and produced by Brett Turner and Ian Williams. This has been Best Brands on Earth. Until next time.